Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.
And we are recording. Check 1, check 2. All right. Welcome to the Cannabis Coffee Hour with your host, me, Rob Cantrell. Oh man, I'm excited about this episode. I got a great episode, a great guest, an old friend. He was just in a movie called The King of Staten Island. He has a great animation show on Netflix called F is for Family. He's one of my old friends. Give it up for Mr. Bill Burr.
What's up, Rob? Good to sort of see you.
Yeah, I know. I'm at an angle. How's this?
I meant more like hanging out in person versus over the computer here. But any port in a pandemic, right?
Yeah, I know. It's all hands on deck and play it as safe as you can. But we're working it out, and I don't mind the Zoom thing. I don't mind the mask. They get annoying, but it's still better than nothing.
Yeah, I don't mind it either. And I hope when they cure this thing, get a vaccine, and I don't know, everybody gets on the same page and it burns itself out. However it leaves, I just hope that the Zoom thing doesn't go away. The Zoom meeting is the greatest thing ever. It's the greatest thing ever.
Yeah.
There's still a meeting. Meetings are a pain in the butt, but it's never been easier to do somebody's podcast. It's never been easier to pitch shows and have meetings, whatever the hell you want to call them. And we've had this technology forever. And I always talk about how it was a buddy of mine. His brother was this big time lawyer and he'd do these big corporate mergers. And he was forever getting on these planes to fly to China and India and all these places to go meet these people. It's just like, why don't you just do a video conference at like 3 a.m? Throw a suit on. What are you doing? So, now that the entire state of California's sort of on point for the global warming or whatever, if you believe it or not, I don't know. It'd probably be better for the environment if we kind of did it that way. So who knows?
It's coming around, Bill. It's just so many people, but I do think we're all evolving. And this whole pandemic has made me rethink what being a human is all about. It's just like all the money and power and all this, I hear you on your podcast, I hear other people, but it's really about happiness and family. And it's nice to have like a wife and kid, and to go through this has been a pain in the ass. And my heart goes out to everybody that's struggling or gone through it or lost somebody. But at the same time, I'm just in a zone where I'm just trying to take it every day and think of the positive. And now I'm with you, drinking kombucha.
Yeah, well, that's the way to do it. That the problem with is if you go on social media or you watch CNN or Fox News, it's just like that's the Jerry Springer show. And it'll give you a horrible view of humanity that is an extreme minority. I think most people are chill, nice, trustworthy people, but what they show you there on the news, and it's a crazy thing now that there's room for everybody to have a TV show. There's that many slices of the pie. So now I think everything has to have a rubberneck element to it to get people to stop and look. When you go from like 3 channels to infinite channels to 100,000 shows or whatever, I just think you just got to keep lowering and lowering and lowering your standards or whatever. So I think.
But the good shit comes through, I think.
No, it absolutely does. What I'm saying is how I stay positive is I don't watch the news.
Yeah, I don't watch the
news. That
Supreme
Justice woman who
What's
just
that?
passed away, the Supreme Justice, whatever you call him.
Yeah,
I had never heard of her. And I was not going to do that thing like everybody did when Nipsey Hussle died, and everybody tries to act like they were the biggest. It's like you just downloaded his greatest hits right after he died so you could pretend to be the person that was into him. So I'm not going to do that with that Supreme Court judge.
No. And people pass away, and but it does remind you that life is precious, and that my thing is like you're around my age. Like I do know people that have died like in their 20s and 30s. I'm just at the point now that if I'm waking up and my heart is ticking, I'm taking my COC 10? Are you on the COC 10?
No, but I was scheduled to get my heart checked out. I had to reschedule it because of, this tour ended up going a little bit longer than I thought. But yeah, I just lost, I lost like 3 friends this year. Like a extremely close friend to just people close in the comedy community in like the last year.
I'm sorry to
in
hear
and out
that,
of the
Bill.
business. And it's just one of those things where your sins catch up to you after 40, 50 years. So I try to tell young people, I say, save up some fun days. Don't use them all up like me. Well, I feel like I used them all up. So now, I just had a beet salad,
They're good though, man.
They're delicious, but back in the day, just having a pizza was awesome. But now you got to look at it like, man, that thing could kill me. So,
I know.
I'm an old dad, so I got to make sure I hang around. So
We need
trying
you
to do the
around,
best
man.
I
Yeah,
can.
you gotta pump blood through the heart. And the way we grew up was just straight grease and bacon and potatoes and grits. I ate terribly. Not bad. My mom always had me on wheat bread early on and that type of shit. But as I get older, yeah, like I do hamburgers like people do cocaine, like every couple months. Like I'll have that's like me.
Oh, that's the great. Yeah, no, I did.
That's like
When
me
I was
going
growing
ham
up.
is getting a hamburger.
Yeah, when I was growing up, it was a lot of, processed food, white bread, red meat, milk, cheese, all of that stuff. And so I
Soda
think,
pop.
whatever. I'm doing the best I can. I'm doing the
What's
best
your
I
morning
can.
ritual like, Bill? Do you like coffee?
My morning ritual is, well, the kids get me up.
Yep.
My morning ritual is I go into my, after my daughter gets me up and I make her breakfast, I go into her room and she watches Peppa Pig on my phone while I do her hair.
That's a good daddy. Does she go for a single ponytail or a double ponytail?
I'm beyond that. I'm French braiding.
Oh,
I'm doing stuff. I'm learning how to put the beads in and all of that's,
dude, you're a better dad. I mean, that's anybody that's braid. I could do a high ponytail. I could do a double ponytail. My wife takes over, but French braid, that's like, whoa, Phil.
It's not that bad. It's just knowing how your fingers are supposed to be. You got to be closer down to the scalp. You just section it off. You tie off the one section you're not going to be messing with. But she loves when I do her hair, but I really think it's just because she gets to watch Bugs Bunny or Peppa Pig. I'm hoping when she gets a little bit older, we'll get to talk about her life, whatever's going on in her life, her frustrations with the ABCs or whatever stress she's dealing with. I don't know. So
yeah, it's just being present, dude. And that's what you're doing. That's the thing with the family thing is like, I just try to be present. I try to get off my phone. I don't try to fuck around. And if I'm hanging out with my wife and kid, I'm just hanging out with my wife and kid. I'm not thinking comedy. I'm not thinking future. I'm not thinking past.
Yeah, I'm bad with the phone. I definitely get talked to a lot about that. And it definitely feeds into my, I'm over here. I'm an ants in a pants kind of guy. So, a smartphone is just, crack for me. So I was doing this great thing for a while where when I was going to bed, I was just reading and it was great. And it wasn't heavy level reading. I was reading about old NFL players and stuff, but it was enjoyable reading for me. And, I think I was maybe sleeping a little bit better that way as opposed to just sitting there. But now it's like football season, hockey playoffs just ended, NBA is getting to the NBA finals, so it's like all this crazy awesome stuff is like happening right now. Baseball's getting into the playoffs. It's really are they? Wait, no. Baseball will be the normal time for the playoffs. I don't even know how they're doing it.
The NBA is getting fired up right now, right? Like they're going into
the NBA's in the I think it's the Lakers versus the Heat. The Heat beat my Celtics. So now if the Lakers beat the Heat, then they'll be tied with the Celtics for most championships of all time. So this is a big deal.
I'm not a huge sports dude, but that Michael Jordan documentary was just so awesome. And
what was awesome about it is you finally got to hear it in his words. And there was a number of people in the press that were complaining that, well, you know, he was the director, he had final say. It's like, well, that's what you guys were. The whole 40 years he's been in the public eye. It's all I've heard it from is from mushy, unathletic sports writers. What's going on with this guy? So I would love to hear his version of what you guys told me happened. And I loved it, man. I absolutely loved it. And I
gave a good look to Larry Bird too. I mean, that Larry Bird's just an awesome athlete in person. Like with him, you know, I'm not even into sports, but I could tell he's just a hard-working, you know, no bullshit dude. And with him hanging with Jordan, him giving shit to Jordan, those guys giving shit back, like it just made him more human. And I thought Jordan, yeah, the gambling thing didn't bother me. Like I totally got it. Like he was going for it, you know, he was 100% going for it. And what was human about it that I thought was dope was just his beginning, just the fundamentals. Like he was all about like at UNC learning, he's always like the game of basketball. You know, he puts it as the game, just keeps it really simple. The same way
I like that he told the story.
Drums.
Yeah, the story that he cleared up for me was how his dad got killed. And that was just a couple of knuckleheads random thing where it was all these idiots trying to say, oh, it was Jordan's gambling debt. And yeah, they're not going to whack your dad.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Some golf, like high roller golf.
Yeah, you owe me money on,
Those are fat, rich dudes on golf courses with enough money to play that type of shit. Like, yeah, his dad passing away, those random things. Yeah, my dad died when I was 9 in a car accident out of the blue.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, man. So I saw him that morning go to pick up my brother from summer camp. And super strong, athletic dude, played, had a full ride at Virginia Tech in the 1950s to play basketball. It's about 6'2". My dad was just a strong presence. But I saw him that morning. And then 2 hours later, I saw the highway guard come up to the house and tell my mom what happened. And he fell asleep in his car while he was driving. So it was he just ran off the road, and it was completely random. And it kind of, ever since that moment, I've always been kind of just like, this could go any second. And the same thing going back to kids and parenting. The things that I do remember, was he a great dad? He had a temper. I'm from the old school. I got whipped with a belt. He was from the South. My granddad worked in the coal mines.
That's amazing because you don't have that vibe at all. Like I always liked you because I liked your vibe where I was just like, I wish I was more chill like this guy. I'm wound up like I don't know what, something wound up, but you always just seem like chill. Like, yeah, man, that's great. You always had a good heart. You rooted for people. You had a good spirit. You wouldn't know that all of that stuff happened. That's amazing that your chill vibe was not beaten out of you.
Yeah. No. And he had a chill vibe. It was the time, man. That's how he grew up. And your show F is for Family, which I relate to so much. You're just a few years older than me, but I was born in 72 in the city. And then we grew up, you know, I was born in Northeast DC, grew up there until I was in the 3rd grade. And then we moved to Buena Vista, Virginia, hardcore rednecks. But I grew up in the 70s. I got paddled by a public school teacher in the 7th grade for fighting. But yeah, I've always been chill. I've never wanted drama. Like I'm complete, even on football teams and wrestling teams, I was always goofball, always loved comedy, always loved music, always loved, so that's always been my vibe. And I think even going through such a dark thing, like the dark side is cool, but you know, there's eventually the negativity and the cynicism. Like I see a lot of the nihilism and the cynicism of the 90s and like people that are, you know, comedians and stuff like that. Like, it's just like, it runs a course to where it's just negative, you know, there's gotta be some type of light at the end of it all for me.
Oh, I'm allergic to when people get going like that. I used to wallow in it.
Yeah.
And like when people start talking to me about big things and about what's going to happen, I just go, listen, I can't listen to this because you don't have any solution. You're just bringing up horrible things with horrible predictions. There's no solution at the end of this. And then you're just trying to drag me into your emotional state, which I don't want to be in.
Yeah, I don't need
You
that
know?
vibe.
Great. An asteroid's coming. I don't need to know that. Let me just be sitting here having a good time, watching a football game or whatever. And then it takes me out. You know, I don't need to be sitting here trying to, you know, contemplate, I don't know how I'm going to get out of the way of it, which I can't because
No.
it's too big.
It's too big.
So yeah, that's why I don't watch the news at all. And I don't read comments on social media unless it's like I just put something out and I want to test the waters, but I only read to the first negative one. So if I can go about 9, 10 on the internet and not get anything negative, I'm like, all right, that's doing pretty good. But everything else is just like, you know, I'm not going to sit on a dunking stool while someone takes their childhood out on me, you know, that day on Twitter. It's just like, all right, I get it. You know, you're way too angry about this. So I know it's got to be something else. So I really try to, I think all of that stuff, global warming, we're going to figure it out. We're going to work it out. We're going to beat this virus. We're going to do it. We're going to do it because we always do.
It always does. It's a part.
And then somebody else, until we don't, and that's that guy.
Man, that's I know I don't have much of your time for long, and I wanted to talk music with you because you're music taste, because you do love music, and that's what trips me out. And you do love metal, and you're a proficient drummer, and you know your shit.
That's good for a comedian. Let's not get crazy.
But comedy, I always have, I mean, this theory, you could shoot holes all in it, but with drumming and stand-up, as you always said, spinning the plates. And I love that term. Like, just like stand-up's about getting to a rhythm, getting to like this. And that's pretty much what drumming is. You're just putting the backbeat, but there's different styles of that backbeat, but it's both keeping time.
Yeah, there is I guess I would actually just say that everything is the same. Drumming, stand-up comedy, the moment when Hulk Hogan, that third time when they go to drop his arm and he puts it back up in the air and he gets that, he's listening to the crowd. Comedian is listening to the crowd. A band is feeding off of the crowd. They're listening to each other, but there's that dynamic, that push-pull thing, you know. And I remember seeing this documentary on Michael Jackson, his last tour. And when he had this moment where, you know, he's rehearsing, he was coming up. DeRosa showed me this, and he just froze, and, you know, for whatever, while the crowd's going nuts. And then the band wanted to jump back in, and he goes, no, let it simmer, let it simmer. And I just love that he used that term where, you know, someone like him who made it look so easy, how great he was as a performer, that he is listening. You just think he's up there like that's Michael Jackson and we're all humans, right? But he's up there as a human being, just listening and knowing the precise moment when to move again to make 90,000 people absolutely lose their mind and feel like they got their money's worth. This is incredible. So, and I also think that that's why some of the best performers are nice people, empathetic people, because you have to respect that performer crowd relationship thing. And the second you're up there, just like, yeah, man, it's me, you know, it's over.
It's over.
It's over. It's just like,
because that moment is precious. That's the thing, is like every night you could say, oh, I do my jokes or I do this song this way, but every moment is different. You know, every moment is different. And a good performer knows that, like, once you step into a bit, like, this is always going to be different. And I have to read the room. I have to feel the temperature, the vibe, you know, what's going on in the world. Like, you really have to open your heart to the moment completely with being a good artist, I think.
Well, you know, what's fun is to try and learn skills on an instrument that you have as a comedian, like to try to improvise, to try to be as free, and trying to make that leap from stand up over to drums. I just can't. I don't play enough. I wasn't blessed with the skill that a pro drummer has, the gift, I should say. But I'm always amazed at guys who play drums where they'll play a phrase which leads to something else, and then they play all this stuff, then they can come back to that phrase and then play a little bit more off of that, or it's just like they're playing a song and they don't even know that they're going to solo, and the lead singer kind of gives them the look, and then the solo has to kind of fit in. If you're good, fits in, it complements, it's an extension to what you were just playing, and that you can come up with that off the top of your head is that's more impressive to me than being able to improvise as a comic, because right now I'm practicing talking.
Yes.
I'm practicing listening. Like, we can all talk, where I feel like as a musician, you have to learn how to talk again.
Yeah.
And then kind of speak through whatever the hell it is you're playing. That's why I always loved hockey. Hockey, of the big four, that's the only one we need to learn how to walk and run again. Everything else, no matter how much you suck at baseball, if you make contact, you know how to run as fast as you can down to the first base. Where with like hockey, I mean, just the hand-eye coordination, the puck's going that way and you're drifting away trying to be like, how do I get my body to get over there? When I first started playing, it's crazy. It's really a crazy
the toughest
thing.
ass sport. All hockey players, I mean, I grew up playing lacrosse because of Virginia and DC, but hockey players, I went to college, and two of my best friends were from Chicago and played fucking hockey since day one. And they're tough and drank and could fight and funny as hell. And I love them to death. But yeah, it's just tough. It's like man tough. It's just.
Oh yeah,
like,
it was too tough for me. I didn't.
It's too tough for me. It's ice. It's hard. Things when you get hit when it's cold, it's so much like it hurts so much more than getting hit when it's hot.
Yeah, I just played pond hockey with my buddies, so it was always screwing around. But when I got older, you know, that epiphany when you suddenly realize, like, as a comic, like, hey, I'm selling tickets. I can afford to buy hockey stuff. You know, and then we got together and we did this thing for 5 years, from 2010 to 2015. Me, Steve Byrne, Nate Craig, all of these guys, we would play pickup hockey in the Valley. And we'd just have a blast. We'd have like the ice from 11:30 to 1 o'clock at night. But then what happened is we all got married and had kids. And it's just like, your kid doesn't care that you played hockey till 1 a.m. and you couldn't get to sleep till 3 because you were so wired. And they come bursting in at 5:55, 6:30. It's all, you might as well have gone out and drank the whole night. You're just going to feel like you're hungover.
Yeah. Did you drink after the hockey games where they break out the beers with Steve Byrne?
Man, I wanted to so bad, but it's LA. Everybody drives. So like playing pickup hockey in New York, you know, you could, you know, have a couple of tall boys or whatever, and before you headed home. But like, I always felt like the beer after hockey was, I mean, that's just the greatest thing ever. I just loved at the end of it, you would just pour in sweat. You had a great time, killer workout. I have not skated since September of 2015, and I need to fix that. So I've been talking to my daughter. She wants to go skating and everything. So I just got to wait till my little man gets a little bit bigger, sleeps through the night. I think occasionally I'm going to try to sneak off. I figure maybe you can finally get a decent ice time during a pandemic. Then you got to get everybody tested.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's COVID safe, man. COVID, yeah, it's too icy out there. And you're on pads and you're shooting the puck, man. You're keeping it 6 feet. That's a good sport for the vid. You got that. Man, real quick about music. Like, who's your favorite drummer? Is it John Bonham? That's the easiest one, because I know you're a Zeppelin fan.
Yeah, everybody loves him. All as far as like maybe different guys to people who aren't drummers. All right, Steve Jordan, huge. First time I heard him was on the first Blues Brothers album, Briefcase Full of Blues. Then I got the Made in America one. And then all of a sudden he was the late night drummer on Letterman. And then he was with Expensive Winos with Keith Richards.
Yeah.
And by then I started playing drums. He was on the cover of Modern Drummer. And I have just followed his career. That great documentary that Keith did when he put together the band with Chuck Berry.
Yes, with Keith Richards, that one, Hail, Hail, Rock and Roll, like that movie.
Yeah, I mean, that's just incredible. And then, they have the big argument in there. And I just remember Steve, like there's a point where Keith wasn't playing something right. And so the band would kind of drop out as Chuck and Keith were getting into it. Every time they dropped out, like you get to hear Steve Jordan's groove without all the other instruments, just for like a half a second. And just how incredible it was. I've always
like
been
that
into
Muscle Shoals like group. It's like, is he American or is he an English dude? Like I think dudes from
no,
the
he's an
South
American dude. He's an
from the
American dude. I
South?
forget where he came up from, but I know he was really into baseball and actually switched to drums late. Like how good he was and how fast he started playing drums. I think when he was like 15, when he did Briefcase Full of Blues, he was only 21 years old. And that live one when he was at they were at the Universal Amphitheater, which became the Gibson Theater.
This is the
I guess
Blues Brothers
Mick and
album.
Keith were there and saw him or somebody came up and they said, "What's I know a bunch of stuff." I got to see Steve Jordan a couple times play live. I remember one time I was doing a benefit. This big benefit in New York, and I was backstage and I just heard this band playing. I was like, man, listen to that drummer. Oh my God. And I walked out, and I looked out, and I like stared for like 8 seconds going, oh my God, that's Steve Jordan. That's Steve Jordan. And then I got to meet him, and it was incredible. And last time I was in New York over the summer, I got to watch him play a private show, some big record executive or something like that. And he just had this killer band with the horn section. And it was amazing. I've never caught him, though, when he's been playing with John Mayer, though, somehow. Another random guy that I like. All the drummers know. Vinny Colaiuta.
Who's he from?
Most mainstream thing he's probably played on was Sting's 10 Sumner Tales. And what's great about that, if you want to get into some nerd drum stuff, is a lot of the album is in odd time, just meaning not in 4/4. And I guess Sting wanted Vinny, he wanted it for the mainstream, because he wanted to have a hit record. I guess he wanted people to not really notice that it was in 5 or was in 7. So the stuff that Vinny plays on that, like on 7 Days, which is in 5, which is amazing, is his legs and his left hand, I guess you would say, are playing in 5, and his right hand is playing in 4. So his right hand's just going 1 yen, 2 yen, 3 yen, it's just playing da 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 da. But because it's 5, 1 yen becomes 1 and a 2 the next time around, and it flips each time. But the phrasing underneath stays the same. It's an amazing.
That makes my brain
another one
hurt
that's in
thinking
7,
about doing
and
it.
he's playing like quarters. So he's on the bell of the ride cymbal. So he's hitting the quarter on 1, 2, 3, 4. And then the next time around, because it's in 7, now he's playing the ands. He's playing the upbeats. And if you just really isolate and listen, it's genius what the guy's doing. James Gadsden with Bill Withers, who unfortunately passed away.
Yes.
Another guy. I'm a groove guy drummer. And then as far as like jazz drummers go, I would say Tony Williams is the Bonham of jazz drummers, and I would say he's arguably the greatest drummer of all time.
More than Buddy Rich?
Yes.
Wow, Buddy Rich is just too pizzazzy. Like you're going super technical.
Buddy Rich, absolute one. Obviously all of those guys are beasts.
Absolute
but
Jordan.
Tony
Buddy
Williams.
Rich. Yeah.
All right, for the nerds out there, I got an album that my drum teacher Dave Elidge told me about. It's called 4 and More. And it's Miles Davis. They're live at the Lincoln Center, and the rumor, the story behind the album is that right before they went on, Miles said, "By the way, this is a benefit. Nobody's getting paid." And the band was pissed. And they went out there, and everything was a little bit faster. And if you listen to Tony Williams on his ride cymbal, it's just the fact that his stick doesn't catch on fire, but it's so clean and you can hear every note. And he did all of this stuff what he was doing with time, that I as far as I know, and I'm just a comedian here, so I don't know quite all this, but I don't know that there was names for what he was doing. They had to come up with names like metric modulation and stuff.
Yeah, man.
So what he would do is, the classic 1, 2 to 3, da na na da na na da na na. He would play that. He'd play that. He'd just play it. He'd play like 1, 2 to 3, da 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 da. He played fast on a song where most guys would just go bang, dang, dang, and he'd turn it around. He put the hi-hat on all 4 beats rather than on 2 and 4, playing that jazz, the spang-a-lang, spang-a-lang, spang-a-lang. And then he would do it with 8th notes and just kept speeding it up and doing all. There was one song that he played on. I go in and out of listening to his stuff, and then I go right back to my ACDC and Guns N' Roses, my safe space.
Yeah,
And then I'll branch out or whatever. But
I was going to ask you about Cinderella.
Cinderella. I love Cinderella.
Yeah,
Philly.
Gypsy Rose.
I saw them open for ACDC on the Blow Up Your Video tour. Who do you think you're talking to here?
Yeah. I know your age.
Fred Curry was a great drummer, especially the time that he came up. There was a lot of flash, and the 80s was really about the show.
Yeah, they came out of cheese metal, but out of that cheese metal, like Cinderella, I liked. I was like, a couple of their tunes, like Gypsy Rose, I like that dude's voice. I was like, these guys aren't cheese. Like,
Kiefer, yeah, they were a cut above. They
were cut above, and then Guns N' Roses came in and just shut it down. And then
Steven Adler, getting him was out of all those bands, he was my favorite because he was just so unique, where everybody was playing a double bass kit, even if they were just playing 4 on the floor. Maybe like if you went to see him in concert, they'd bust out the double bass and start running underneath as they just played on the toms or whatever. But he showed up and had a little 4-piece kit, and I feel like he got more damn music out of that little kit than these guys who had like these Neil Peart size kits. And if you listen to what I love about unique drummers who can really come up with these drum parts, is if you pull away all the music, even the layman can listen to the drums and know what song it is. Because there's a lot of guys that, because drums are drums, it's not like you're playing a note. You just sort of have dynamics. I guess you can push in the head and do all that type of stuff. But like, you're not playing like a note. So a bass drum's a bass drum, a snare's a snare. So if you don't switch it up a lot, which there's an art to that too with a guy like Phil Rudd, who I absolutely love. But to actually come up with these unique drum parts, Steven Adler and John Bonham, Tommy Lee, like these guys where the dude
from the Who, like this weird personality.
Yeah, oh yeah, Keith Moon, like they come up. It's like the song within the song. Like the bass player doesn't play the exact same bass line, but as a drummer, you can really, playing rock and roll can kind of get away with maybe not being the most creative. But having said that, that's what I love about Phil Rudd. Phil Rudd is so like stripped down that when he adds an 8th note bass drum, or maybe plays a little fill, or even just hits a cymbal, it becomes such a moment in the song. And I like the way that guy can gets to the Michael Jackson thing, the simmer thing, the way that he can build and release tension.
Now,
by when he decides to hit a cymbal, to not hit a cymbal. And there's a lot of it's a weird thing. Like, I feel like, with drums, a lot of times, like a fill or hitting a cymbal is the same as that final chord you play, the resolution chord that can make people relax. It's the same thing. So I think those genius drummers, when they start to understand that, and you're doing the Hulk Hogan thing where you picks up the arm, it drops. That last time when you don't drop, you're trying to build these moments. Because when you're a live performer, you want people to lose their fucking minds. You want to melt their faces. You want to take them on a ride. And so that gets back to that thing we were talking about, how you have to have empathy and you have to be humble because you have this responsibility for these people's evenings. And you also want them to come back and see you. So you can't be up there for you. You have to be listening to the needs. What I need to do here. I mean, you can be self-indulgent, try some new shit, take them to a creepy place, but you got to be able to walk them back
Yeah.
to the main
No,
corridor at
it
some
was-
point.
That was ACDC's drummer, right? Is
Phil
that-
Rudd, yeah.
Yeah, and I've listened to ACDC my whole life. I remember when they first went out on tour. One of my best friends was in a speed metal band called Nosferatu. And For
Great
Nothing
name.
Else Matters, they wore his t-shirt. Like I knew some serious speed metal dudes in Virginia.
Yeah.
Like some dirtbaggy, like rock and roll. And those were some of the first shows that I saw. And so I do have like affinity for metal and good rock drumming. Did you see the Ginger Baker movie?
Yes, I did. That was wild. And when
That was
he
wild.
said
That was a
John
hard
Bonham,
one for me.
when he said John Bonham couldn't swing a sack of shit, like my jaw was on the ground. And then I died laughing in a comedic way where this guy's like a stand-up comic slaying something precious, because no one has ever said that.
Yeah.
And to say that on film and to just dismiss him. But I gotta be honest with you, like I gotta listen to more Cream and Ginger Baker, because my ears must not be advanced enough to understand what I'm hearing, because when they brought up John Bonham in comparison to Ginger in that documentary, Eric dismissed him. Not saying he was a bad player, but he went like, "Oh no, like not like," he was saying like not even the same ballpark. But he was like, I guess he was really into Elvin Jones and could hang with those guys in that
You can
forum.
hang
But
with the jazz crew, like Ginger Baker, like jazz.
Yeah,
I mean,
so-
rock and roll is kick ass, bust in your face. Jazz is high technical, it's a higher level in some ways, some people thinking, a higher level of music. But rock and roll
I think
is
it's a different thing. But I will say where the I don't know if what you call it in jazz, but where the beat is in the swing of jazz, which is why there was so many great drummers in the 60s and 70s, because they grew up listening to their dad's records, which were jazz. So they had that swing pulse
that
in
swing
them.
beat.
It was in their DNA. So when they went to rock, they had a swing to their playing, and I felt the groove was deeper back then. And then what happened is when music got so heavy, and then my generation came along, we started at Zeppelin and Sabbath, and even though that those bands had these drummers that were swinging their asses off, like the sort of the implied beat on it was, I mean, I watch a bunch of old drum videos, and it's funny, you watch white crowds in the 50s, they'll clap on 2 and 4 when they're listening to a jazz band. And within 20 years of that, they've now gone to clapping on 1 and 3 or on all 4 beats, because it's like dun 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 dun. It got real slogged down into the mud. But what was funny was those guys, so many of them were jazz drummers, and
No, I know what you mean.
that's also why I feel like a lot of their fills, it was so snare based, because like a lot of those guys, it was all about rudiments and used toms as like accents. And then as the kits got bigger, it's really a fascinating thing. And you see the ebb and flow, just like in comedy, where you have the 80s, starts in the 70s, these comedy clubs are coming up, and then the 80s boom. And then anybody with a mullet and their hair pulled up can somehow get on TV and tell jokes. And that's almost like the end of the era, like the end of hair metal. And then grunge comes along and it gets stripped down. With us, it was like alternative comedy, which people don't remember when it first came out, was great because it was a bunch of beast club comics that did it. But then what they did was they created this scene that people could go into and just stand in front of a room full of them. So I would say that by the third wave of all comic, it was sort of hair metal in like 92 or something like that.
Yeah, it all runs its course. Whatever becomes king runs its course. That's why you can't really believe the hype and just try to, work from, real relationships. Because
or just keep doing what you're doing, which is definitely what I learned from ACDC.
Yeah, I never fit in with the alt crew or the Funny Bone crew. Like I've always done my own. And I remember ACDC wouldn't get written up in Rolling Stone Neither was Led Zeppelin, was kind of looked down. Now they're like worshipped, and hipsters are like, oh, this is the end all. But during the 70s and 80s, they wouldn't even play them on regular rock and roll. Like it was like, yeah, you had to know somebody, or yeah, to get turned on to Kiss records and get turned on to ACDC records. I just heard a new ACDC song that I didn't know, but is amazing. Is Riff Raff.
Oh yeah. Last song, First Side, Highway to Hell album.
Yeah, man. Like there's some deep cuts. Like I know Ride On. Like I know.
Oh
my
no, wait.
deep cut.
Riff Raff was good for a laugh.
I
Or is
think
that
that's
on
on
Power
the
Age.
DVD. I think that's
Oh,
on
I'm
the
getting
very
old. No,
one.
I'm sorry. Isn't that on Power Age?
Yeah, I
Maybe
think it's
that's
on Power Age. It's a Bon Scott. The stuff
That's
I
right.
saw.
Power Age. Last song.
Yeah. One of the I'm a fan of this band called Clutch, and the lead singer Neil
I know those
Fallon
guys.
covered it. And I was like, I never heard this tune, and it has kind of a lot of stand-up reference. It's a cool tune.
I got to look it up. Yeah, Power Age. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, Power Age.
I used to not pay attention in class, and I would write out every song of every album of AC/DC in order.
Yeah, Bon Scott or the other guy. It's hard to say, man, because Back in Black is such a good
Brian
album.
Johnson.
Yeah,
All right, here's
Brian
what I would
Johnson.
say. I'll say that my favorite album by each, and then the most underrated. So I would say my favorite Bon Scott. That's a hard one. Power Age is obviously the underrated one, and
Just how it's recorded sounds cool.
yeah, I would say I do love the live album, but I might have to go Highway to Hell just because I love the second side of that album. And I also, as a fan, I just love the direction, so all the albums were like so raw, and then they were finally starting to break, and they had a little more production value to it. And Phil's drumming got a little more busier. By busy, it's still like really
Stephen
like
King put him in a
minimalist.
whole, got him score a movie. They did Who Made Who?
Yeah.
Who Made You?
Brian Johnson, obviously everybody loves the Back in Black album. My buddy Joe Bartnick and
My good
myself
buddy,
love
too.
Flick of the Switch, but lately in the last few years, I actually think the best sounding AC/DC album ever is For Those About to Rock. I just think it's the crunchiest the guitars sound, and I love Phil Rudd's drumming on one particular track, COD. I just love when I
Cash
get
on
back off the
Delivery.
road, I have a playlist, and that's the first one that I play to, and I just bash the shit out of my drums. I have so much fun. Like that song, Get It Hot, off second side, Highway to Hell.
COD, I'll check out. I haven't heard that.
Care of the Devil.
one.
And it's just like, I heard that they had an absolute nightmare recording that album because whoever produced it was taking forever to get sounds, and they were going out of their minds. But I didn't for the longest time.
It wasn't pop rock.
I forget who it was. I'm sorry, sliding down here. I
How big was
remember
that Def Leppard album. Did you go full in on the Pyromania album when it broke? Because that was almost as big as the Michael Jackson album, as I remember.
Pyromania album. In the last 5 years, I downloaded it again and listened to it and was absolutely just blown away. And then the album before that too, whatever that one's called.
Diver Down.
Yeah, those
Diver
ones.
Down is that got
is it
some
Diver
good-
Down? I think that's a Van Halen album.
No, but there's one that somebody's diving in the picture, and there's like a truck. I remember
Isn't it
that
High
album.
and Dry?
Yeah, High and Dry.
High
That's
and Dry. Yeah, Diver Down was Van Halen.
Yeah,
Alex
Van
Van Halen, ridiculously underrated drummer, just because he plays with Eddie. So everybody was
Van
so
Halen
blown
brother.
away by Eddie. Meanwhile, Alex Van Halen's his phrasing, his drum parts, his sound.
they sound like congos. Hot for Teacher, that
Yes.
beginning, that it has like
Yeah.
this Congo jungle.
And just the creativity to come up with that,
Yeah.
to make it sound like a fast car idling.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. I could talk
I
about
only have
it.
you for a couple more minutes. You've been too good to me. Where are you at? I know you've never been a big pot smoker, but where are you at with cannabis with the country in terms, I don't even know if it's political. Where are you at with it? Do you care or not? Or where, I mean,
I was never used to be into it, and then I quit drinking in 2018. So, and then like it kind of all got like legalized. And so I'm one of those guys, I'm a lightweight. Like I'll take a gummy here or there.
yeah.
I'll take a hit here or there, but generally speaking, I've kind of been straight edge, which is hard, man. Like I used to do a bit about that. Straight edge people just every day taking life in the face. I got a couple.
I know
of,
life is hard, man. You get thrown so many curveballs, and I live in New York, and I've been here since 2005, and I'm like, I never stop getting curveballs. Like I think I get to a point where, I got this figured out, and just fucking always.
Can you imagine if you're high though, if your release was, if you actually learned how to meditate properly, if you gave those assholes enough money and they gave you your chant word, because they turned it into a business. If you did that and you could read and you could actually unwind doing that, because I try it with drums.
That's what I do, man. The phone kills me. I practice bad guitar. I stretch. I do these things called the 5. You'll make fun of them, but they're the 5 Tibetan
I love stretching.
rites. They're like these.
They're what?
What's that?
What are they called? Sorry, I'm talking over here.
The 5 Tibetan rites. And
Oh, dude, you got to send me that.
Yeah, they're 5 stretches, and they're all core strength, all simple. It takes maybe 20 minutes, but it stretches everything out. It's Tibetan monks. It's what they do. It's called the Fountain of Youth, but they do it. But it's a lot of core. It's a lot of just like stretching this because we're sitting down and driving and eating hamburgers all day.
Yeah, I've discovered the psoas muscle, as everybody does when they get older. Well, but the problem is your psoas muscle. So I have I have 3 killer stretches.
Ooh.
For psoas, I got the usual, like the cobra, that one.
That's
then
a great one.
There's one, it's a variation. The next 2 are a variation. One is basically, if you were going down to genuflect in church, you don't let your knee touch the ground, but you kind of come down and then you reach up like this, and then, no, with one hand, just one hand.
One hand.
Just one hand, and then you bend over like that. So it's the one leg is bent and you're supporting your weight. You reach up with the opposite hand to that. And then the last one is you just like get up against the wall and you put your leg up, your knees on the floor, and then your legs almost like right behind your glute, your butt cheek there. And then the other one's a genuflect pose. And you sort of try to bring the navel up, and that stretches. And I'm telling you, because so many times I had like lower back pain, I thought it was my back. It was actually my psoas was tight from sitting on airplanes and all kinds of shit like that. So I don't know.
Yeah, I know that one. You got to stretch out. You can stretch out the chest plate. It opens up the heart, opens up the stomach. Yeah, you got to work it out, man.
I know. And I look at like my dad, love my dad, but I don't think I ever saw him trying to touch his toes my entire life. I can't imagine like his range of motion. It's just like, I don't want to be like that, especially being an old dad like I am. I got to make sure I
same brother. Here. I know that cube formation after 50, they just become like these refrigerator boxes, like dudes of our age, like our dads they didn't stretch. You got to stretch the fucking machine.
You know what a doctor said to me one time? When I was like 48, 49, sliding into 50, he goes, what did he say? He said something like, yeah, it doesn't get good from here on out. What he was talking about. I'm just like, I called him. I go, why would you say that? So much of your health is based on your mental. And you just put that astoundingly, like, you think I don't realize that my mortality, I understand. I've contemplated it, but my whole thing is I'm going out the way I want to go out, which is like, if I'm dying in a week, I'm not thinking about dying in a week. I'm thinking about the fun I'm going to have in that week. So this guy like literally just turned this little sand hourglass thing right over in front of him. Look how much sand is down here versus up here. It's just like, I can do basic math. I can double my age and know the odds of me hitting that. I get that I'm on the back 9 here.
Yeah, but that's just a dick, it's just like, that's just a negative way of thinking. How I always think about it lately is just like, I like getting older. I'm learning more about being myself, how to present myself just as myself. And I heard a cool, this is my positive vibes, but when people become millionaires, Bill, what age? The 98% of the millionaires out there, when they become millionaires, at what age?
No.
45 to 55. This is
there
the
you
time
go.
to get the fucking money. This is when you make all the mistakes. All my 30s, all those show business mistakes, Bill. I'm learning, man. I'm humbling.
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
moving
that's the
forward.
thing. You learn from your mistakes, and then also it's
But
easier
you
to
gotta stay
save money.
alive.
It's easier to save money when you're older because so much stuff you don't care about anymore. You know what I mean? And it's a lot less pressure. You found your wife. You guys love each other for who you are. So, you don't have to be dressed to the nines everywhere you go. You can chill.
Yeah.
My show tonight got rained out. How hilarious is that? I never had a show get rained out. So my wife's going like, oh, we should go out to dinner. So I'm going to do it. But in my head, I'm like, this is like the first night off I had.
Yeah.
But I get it. I get it.
Yeah, you might have to, yeah, with the family. Thank you for taking the time, Bill. I'll let you get back to your fam, man. You're the best, and I appreciate you, man. I appreciate your friendship. You've been there for me. The few times that I've reached out, you're so busy. Every third time you get back to me, and you,
I'm
and you,
sorry.
you come
I'll
through.
try to get better at that.
No,
Dude,
you don't
I
have
love
to.
you,
You
man.
don't have to
You
get
got
back.
such a cool vibe. And now send me those 5 Tibetan stretches.
I will. And check out the Tibetan stretches. I'm trying to meditate. Give my love. Say hi to Joe Bartnick. Is he there with you?
Joey B, the Godfather. Of course he is.
Yes.
Of course he is. And I'll promote this. So send me a link. Let me know when it's coming out. All right.
I will, brother. Thank you, Bill.
All right, man. All right. I'll
brother.
talk to you later.
Yeah.